So this week, the best quarterback from the 2025 draft class got another win because the Jets got shucked. Pretty incredible stuff.
Technically, in terms of literal hours, Tyler Shuck had a 300-yard passing game before Drake May did in his career.
True.
All I'm going to say,
good point.
it took Drake May up until Sunday Night Football to have a 300-yard passing game. 4 hours earlier, Tyler Shuck already
Drake
did it.
May almost losing to the Ravens before he could.
And Tyler Shuck, and we won't mention, the discrepancies between the Ravens and the Jets. That has absolutely no bearing on this conversation. We are starting the Tyler Shuck better than Drake May narrative.
Out there. Let me throw this out. Let me. The Jets beat the Bengals. The Bengals beat the Ravens. I'm just saying.
The narrative is complete.
Some statistical analysis.
We'll let y'all ruminate that over the intro.
2 inches short, maybe less. Story of my life. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big.
If you say he's a bust and you end up right, it's not because you're some genius. It's because you got lucky.
How I feel, man? Tell me how I feel, El Freaky.
We prayed that these bird 30s would nourish us and allow us to throw the ball.
They got to go get this bread.
If you suck, you might as well suck with purpose. And also, we can't go another second without addressing the shirt. It's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase doing the Step Brothers pose.
That is a fantastic shirt. A wonderful Christmas gift from me.
Yes. Yeah, right. You can't take the credit. My beautiful girlfriend.
Your lovely girlfriend. The implication was that I am your girlfriend.
Yes. That's why
But yeah, no, the Tyler Shuck narrative is real. 3 straight wins for the Saints. Probably the least important football game that happened last week, and yet for me, it was the most important.
I do want to say, because we talked about this when we were doing like our QB situation video, but like ironically, the Saints situation isn't that bad because the more that Tyler Shuck plays good, the more wins they accumulate. And while that's farther away from getting the draft pick they need to get a quarterback, the more it proves that he could be the franchise guy.
You are more than happy as a Saints fan with this. I mean, obviously, like hindsight could be 2020, and you look back 5 years and be like, man, I wish we had a few spots better of a draft pick. But that's really irrelevant. If you think you have your guy, and at this point they do, without a doubt, know that Tyler Shuck will be their starting quarterback for 2026. I mean, it's not even really a question.
And I'll put this out there into the ether. When the season started, last week we broke the trend. We looked at the roster of the Saints and said that this is probably the worst roster in the NFL and most likely going to be the worst team within the NFL. I feel like at this point they have clearly separated themselves from the lowest tier within the NFL.
Well,
being the Raiders, the Titans, the Browns.
That is true. Now, this is a two-edged sword, although both of them, in a sense, being good for the Saints. I don't actually feel that much different about their roster than I did at the start of the season.
No.
Which is 2 things. A lot of credit to that coaching staff and a whole lot of credit to Tyler Shuck. Like the bit aside, Tyler Shuck is legitimately, over these last few weeks, elevating this roster.
Right. And there's 2 thought processes that goes into this, right? The first one is that when you're a team that's in the middle, you almost can get stuck because you don't have as high of draft capital in order to get out of it. But the other thing is kind of what the Patriots did, where they had, and the Saints are different because their cap space situation is not as good as the Patriots, although it's getting a lot better. One
more season of it being outright bad.
Right. Yeah, for sure. you have this ability where it's like, okay, yes, it doesn't look good. It's not terrible. Maybe you have your quarterback. If you do, a couple pieces around the edges. Kellen Moore, again, that was probably the least talked about coaching hire. He's doing a great job, I think, overall with that offense. If he can continue to grow, if Shuck can continue to grow, it's not crazy to think that the Saints are on like a good trajectory compared to a lot of teams.
And you throw in the factor that they play in the NFC South, which we'll be talking about the NFC South this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, really the only which there's nothing that can be done, so it's almost not even worth complaining about. It's just the reality. The one complaint that you would make is that because if Tyler Shutt is the guy, you're almost a little bit salty that you're having to use up years of his rookie contract while their cap situation is still bad. Like, let's say 3 years from now, and he is the guy, and they sign him to an extension. It's like you had less of a window of massive amounts of cap space that typically teams that find a rookie guy do have. But that's a relatively minor complaint. We can move on from Saints discussion, but I mean, how far have we come that we're leading the show with the Saints? That's why you should tune into this podcast, folks.
Exactly. No one is starting their show talking about the Saints-Jets game.
Yeah, if you like a show that starts with Tyler Shuck's career with 2 weeks left to go in the NFL regular season and they've been eliminated for like 8 weeks now, then like and subscribe.
We just get excited about ball, just generally. And, to continue this trend, obviously we're going to talk about all of the playoff implications and all of that. But on the other side of the coin, that is the end of the season, we also have to talk about draft order. We are in a weird position where, potentially the top 3 teams or a lot of the top teams that are going to probably be picking first don't need a quarterback, right? So we talked about the Giants they're the number 1 pick. The Raiders, I wouldn't be shocked if they stick with Geno Smith, just because if this is a draft where they think Mendoza is really the only guy that's worth a first round pick, then that's kind of, I think it could be easy to reason out of, this is just a crazy season. Chip Kelly didn't work out. Geno Smith had a down year, but he's done enough in the last few years of his career that we should stick with that
And
contract.
I won't bog this down, and we'll probably at some point in the offseason do this where I can kind of supplement this. I have much more of my finger on the pulse of college football and the college quarterback situation than Adam does, and that just is what it is. It is interesting how this season shaped out, a combination of guys not appearing as NFL ready as they might have been assumed to have been. And because of that, guys are at a point now with NIL where they would rather stay another year than get drafted. The most obvious example there being Arch Manning. And so there's a handful of guys that were expected to be in this class that actually won't be. And so the pickings are slim.
Yeah.
And it is worth noting that we basically do have the number 1 pick bowl coming up this week because we have Raiders and Giants. Whoever loses that game is overwhelmingly likely to be the number 1 overall pick.
Right. And so I guess my point is that the teams that you would think maybe they will want to draft a quarterback, Jets being right now the number 4 overall pick, teams like maybe Arizona being the number 5 overall pick. And then, we talked about Tyler Shuck, but, technically, I don't think the Saints are going to be in that situation. But if they are, basically my point is, I think whoever holds that number 1 pick has a real opportunity to draft or to trade out of it and collect a lot of assets.
Yeah, this is probably the most likely. I mean, when was the last draft that we had a trade out of the number 1 overall pick? I'm blanking.
I don't remember.
It was relatively recent, but it's been a couple of years. But that being said, this will...
Was it just Panthers-Bears?
Yeah, Panthers-Bears. That's what it would have been. Yeah. Panthers going in for Bryce Young. This will probably be the first draft to where we have that situation since then. The only option that I could see would be the Raiders. That's it. If the Raiders win against the Giants, which probably isn't likely, but if they do, that pretty much seals the fact that the number 1 pick will likely be traded.
Yeah.
The question is really, what will the trade
actual
package be? We can move on.
Yes.
But there's not a lot of incentive to trade up, potentially.
But like, even think about the Jets. Think about how many first-round picks they have. Like, all the assets that they've accumulated. Like, there are certain teams in particular that makes this discussion really interesting, simply because not only do they have the ability to, not only do they have the need, but they have the, like, ammunition to go get it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just,
really
because it's a New York team stockpiling picks, I am just thinking of like an NFL guy who knows nothing about the NBA but thinks the draft is relatively similar, tuning into the last NBA draft and the Nets drafting 5 first-round players and being like, what the hell? They must have the greatest roster ever after that.
Nope.
Nope. We can move right into probably the best game of the regular season, dare I say?
Maybe. I don't know. The first game was pretty electric, just because it was the first game, you know.
That
this
is
game
true.
Was pretty impressive.
I am pretty stunned. The Seahawks showed a lot there, and I was already relatively high on the Seahawks. Maybe not as high as you. Obviously, you picked them in this game, but that's really purely just because of how highly I hold the Rams. I thought the game was over. In fact, I would look like a fool in front of my friends. I was at a wedding in D.C., and we were all on the couch together, good old times, watching some Thursday Night Football. As soon as the Rams went up 16, I was like, oh, this game's over. And then the second later, the Seahawks returned the punt for the touchdown.
Dude, can I just say, we have a short of me talking about how Rashid Shaheed in big moments and playoff situations specifically is going to be a really important piece for the Seahawks team. And I got kind of clowned in the comments. Like, someone was like, oh, well, I'm dropping him for my fantasy team. Oh, I'm blah, 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 blah. You all can suck it, because I was totally right. I'm so vindictive.
You really are.
But it's true. Like, Rashid Shaheed is just a big play type of guy. And whether that's in, you know, on the offense, catching deep balls, whether that's, you know, in special teams, like, regardless of the fact, that was the thing that changed the game.
No, 100%. We talk about winners first here. We have to start by just... I mean, the 2-point conversion play, that might have been the loudest crowd pop that I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
When they came on, flipped on the mic, said, it has been determined that it was a backward pass, and every single soul in Lumen Field just screams at the top of their lungs. If that doesn't get you into football, I don't know what will. I don't know. Are these two teams the 2 Super Bowl favorites? Like, they can't mathematically be, because the odds makers, they meet each other in the NFC, so you have to divide it. But after what happened to the Broncos,
they might be.
It's starting to feel like these two teams are on a collision course to meet a third time. They've already split with each other, and whoever wins that game is just overwhelmingly Super Bowl favorite.
To give credence to it, almost, I'm pretty much convinced by the fact that the Seahawks and one of those two teams are going to be the number 1 seed in the NFL or in the NFC. And if that is the case, then chances are, unless it's like the Bears, I guess, chances are that the 5 seed, the other team will be the 5 seed and play either the Bucs and the Panthers. What that would mean is, as long as they're, you know, the divisional teams take care of business, chances are that's a divisional matchup between the 1 seed and then the lowest, you know, overall seed, which would be the 5 seed. So, really interesting.
My guess would be now, depending on, and we can talk about this a little bit when we get to the game. A lot of that depends on what your thoughts on the Eagles are and whether they could be upset by the 6 or the 7 seed, depending on more likely the 6 seed because they're almost inevitably locked into the 3 seed mathematically. But yeah, at the same time, yes, was it a little unfortunate for the Rams? If you're a fan of them, to be down 16 and to give that up, 100%. But Matthew Stafford balled out. I mean, the man had 450 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Well, it just goes to show that, I mean, they had 581 yards of total offense. Puka Nacua balled out. Stafford balled out. They got the run game going. They didn't have any turnovers. Their EPA in both dropbacks and per play was in the 90th percentile. The biggest issue was the red zone. They were just 3 for 6 in the red zone, converting touchdowns. And then there was just a stretch during that comeback where I think they had 3 or 4 3-and-outs in a row, right? The first one was after the second interception, I believe. They get the ball, 3-and-out, punt it, Shaheed returns it for a touchdown, and all of a sudden the game is totally turned upside down. They go for 2. The wonky thing happens, which I actually have one more thing to say about that 2-point conversion, because I've seen a lot of people on like X or Twitter or whatever kind of talking about it. And it's interesting because normally when people talk about the refs, they say, the refs made a bad call. Or that they're mad about how the rules were applied within the certain context of the situation. This is a unique situation similar to the like Jalen Hurts fumble against the Giants, because this is a situation where it exposed a completely asinine rule within the NFL rulebook, which is that the whistle apparently doesn't matter unless it's accidental, right? Like the concept of the play is not actually dead when the whistle blows. The play is dead when the ref determines it, and the whistle is just an indicator of that. However, if there was a pick 6, but in the middle, while the ball was in the air, there was a whistle blown, the play would be dead and the pick 6 would be erased off the board. And so it's, again, another one of those situations. We talked about this multiple times on this channel, but where apparently the whistle just doesn't really mean anything unless it's not.
What's funny enough is on the we also saw almost the flip side of that in the Pittsburgh-Detroit game on the final play that had a whole bunch of craziness going on. But the funniest part of that was, even though it ended up being irrelevant, they technically ruled that play to end the game was a touchdown. It happened to be negated by an OPI. And I was like, I've never seen a more clear forward progress halt than that. He was getting driven backwards 5 yards for like a total of 4 seconds. And yet they technically, it almost felt like they just ruled that was a touchdown just to mess with Detroit fans. But like it was legitimately like, how could you possibly not say that his forward progress was stopped?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was holding that sneeze for a while. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go.
The last thing we can say about this Thursday night game. Oh.
Well, so real quick, the other thing that I wanted to talk about with this game, Sam Darnold, really impressive performance, not necessarily in terms of the box score, but more in terms of negating and flipping the narrative on its head, right? The narrative of, he can't play against the Rams, which it's not really a narrative, because I believe up until his first touchdown pass, it had been across 2 seasons when playing the Rams, he had thrown 6 interceptions to no touchdowns. So like, it's not really a narrative, but the idea that he threw those 2 interceptions and then messed around and made some incredible plays, that throw to Cooper Kupp where he dragged his toe, right? All of those things was just absolutely incredible. And so for Sam Darnold, I think that's just gotta be important for him, like in his own
I think it does have to be important. At the same time, I will say, and this game kind of erased the first 3 quarters of it, I wasn't a huge fan of how outwardly the game plan, the offensive game plan that the Seahawks had for the first 3 quarters was literally don't let Sam Darnold throw the ball.
Yeah.
That,
They were so
like,
passive.
does the win erase that somewhat? Yes. But there's two things, and they're kind of opposite, but both of them could be bad for Seattle if these teams meet again in the playoffs, which they most likely will, which is either the Seahawks go right back to that game plan and don't let Sam Darnold throw the ball, which is not really good and very easy to predict and to catch on for an NFL defense. Or they say, wow, Sam Darnold really proved that he can play, and he comes out and he throws 3 more interceptions. So I do still think, in all of the craziness of this, I would like LA in a rematch, but these teams are clearly right there with each other.
Here's the thing. I don't feel as harsh as I did when I was watching the game, but as I was watching a game, the note that I wrote down for Sam Darnold is that Sam Darnold is like Mac Jones with a more consistent and elite deep ball. Right?
Yes.
Like when we talked about Mac Jones and how
Sam Darnold actually has an
Shanahan's
arm. Mac Jones does not.
Right, exactly. The thing what we said, and I like this term that we coined, which is he's like a Madden quarterback. Basically what that means is he's being controlled by the offensive play caller, and he just kind of throws the ball to the guy who should be open according to the play call that was called. And when you have Shanahan, obviously that works out the vast majority of the time. But when you look at Mac Jones' turnover-worthy plays and interceptions within that stretch that he was starting, every single one, it was like, wow, he threw that to straight to the defender. Like,
yeah, he's essentially
he clearly was not using his mind in order to read a defense and adjust. It really is just like, according to my play caller, this guy should be open if the defense is doing what we think they will. Sam Darnold had a little bit of that this game with both of his interceptions. The second one wasn't as bad because it really was just like good defensive play calling by the Rams. Kobe Turner, they sent an all-out blitz. There's this wall of blue in front of him, and then Kobe Turner was the one guy who just so happened to back up directly into the passing lane. Like, I'm sure Sam Darnold's like, oh, we just got a touchdown. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Piano Man came out of nowhere and stole the ball from him. But like, which is so funny how they play that clip every time the Rams play on primetime of Kobe Turner on Sunday night. Good. Anyway, but yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like, Sam Darnold, I think this was big for his own mental space, but to your point, we'll see exactly how that plays out. Are the Seahawks going to be as conservative as they were, or are they going to lean into Sam Darnold like they did in the second half, and is that actually going to still be good?
The last thing I'll say about this game, what I was going to say is Sean McVay pulls no punches. He is a cutthroat coach. For any of you who think he's like a soft, progressive man, first thing he does as soon as the week of football ends is he fires his special teams coordinator, Chase Blackburn.
Really cute.
I mean, and potentially, not potentially, I trust Sean McVay in this, deservedly so. They've lost multiple games this season due to their special teams.
Every game. I would argue that every game was due to it. They missed the field goal.
That's actually a great point.
Is probably not inherently his fault.
Well, I'm thinking obviously the punt return.
The punt return was the biggest thing. Think about the blocked field goals. Think about just general coverage flaws. I would argue that in every game that they've lost, offensively, they've looked better. Every game that they've lost, offensively, they've looked better. And you know the old saying, there's 3 phases of the game. You have to win 2 of them to win the game. The way that they're losing is because they're losing through special teams. And, so yeah, he's a cutthroat. Also, the way he reacted to the whole Puka Nacua situation, the weird defending while also saying like he disapproves of the behavior was pretty impressive.
It was. I mean, he's a master PR man. He's an LA man. He's got the best media training. But it's also one of those things where he's a coach where it's like, clearly he's been media trained, but it doesn't feel scripted, like he's his own person. He also has the very fun LA young guy. He just is kind of always on crack cocaine at all times. Like, he does actively look like he's, going
his
skiing.
Eyes are always wide open.
Yeah, he's alert. I do wonder how much Adderall he's on at all times.
A lot, I'm sure. That's because he sees the game in like 3D or 4D. Like, he did the 4D.
He sees most of us see the game in 3D, Adam.
I meant 4D. Like, X's and O's are like floating in the air.
That's like that one. I don't even know who it was, but it was some commentator talking about Trump, and he goes, he's playing 3D chess. so just chess.
Oh my gosh.
But we can move on to the Saturday slate of games.
Yeah. Well, so did you have any notes for the Commanders-Eagles game?
The Eagles are uninspiring, and the Commanders are just bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the last 2 weeks, like, I don't know, because on one hand, I'm like, these are fake teams. Like, their offense sucked when they went against a real defense, and the last 2 weeks they played arguably the 2 worst. And
these 2 teams are the equivalent of, you know how North Korea builds the fake cities? That's a thing that they do. They build fake cities. So when like we do satellite imaging of them, they're trying to trick us into thinking that they have massive urban centers. This is the NFL equivalent of that. These are 2 fake psyop teams that the NFL has created to play a football game and try to make us think that it's real.
And so but on the other hand, the Eagles' schedule is very easy at the end. There's a part of me that thinks that's really, I know, but there's a part of me that thinks that that's really good. Like, what if this is a team that more than most teams simply just like believing in themselves is like the most important thing for the team? Like, just positive vibes. You don't think it was
the positivity rabbit? You don't think the positivity rabbit fixed it? Do you see? You know about that, right?
I know it didn't.
They put the positivity rabbit in for 2 games. They immediately lost, and then there were photos of it in the trash.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. I didn't see the follow-up. I just saw that it came out. My point is, though, is that I feel like there is a weird world where positive momentum, though being fake, is actually important for this Eagles roster that's like stacked and just underperforming.
There is a legitimate point to that. The other point is Jalen Hurts is a psychological experiment to see how many wins a quarterback can get in the 21st century while throwing for under 200 passing yards. I mean, how many wins does he have in his career throwing under 200 passing yards? It's incredible.
So many. Yeah, it's actually insane. While having like 3 rushing touchdowns each game.
Yeah. And yet he's not really like a top 5 mobile quarterback, at least in the way that we think of mobile quarterbacks now.
He just squats 700 pounds. That's it.
Which is impressive. I don't want to hate on Jalen Hurts too much. Like, he is a good quarterback. He's just different. He's a little special.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Packers Bears transitioning to a game that really wasn't that good up until the last 3 minutes of game time. But entertaining in, like you said, a rock fight sense. Unfortunate for Jordan Love to go down like that. At the same time, I got a sense it didn't actually affect the game too much. And Malik Willis is objectively good. I mean, he went 2-0 in his starts last season. He's like, Malik Willis is an unfortunate ding to the Jordan Love argument, but on the flip side, a positive to the Matt LaFleur argument.
The Jordan Willis. So first off, again, kudos to the Packers for historically being able to train quarterbacks and develop quarterbacks. Malik Willis was awful on the Titans, and then a few years with Matt LaFleur, and he's really shined. In fact, I think he's going to be potentially a big piece that the Packers can deal, or I don't know if he's a free agent. I'm not that deep in the bag when it comes to,
if I'm the Chiefs and Mahomes isn't going to be back until like week 3 of next season, I'm targeting 100%. Him immediately.
Yeah, no, I think that there are a lot of
throw a 3rd round pick their way.
The team that I like the most is the Vikings. I love the idea of him continuing, just because that offensive scheme that LaFleur, obviously he's part of the Shanahan tree, and so is Kevin O'Connell. And so they run a pretty, there are differences, but it's the basic structure of it is pretty similar. And you saw that. The one thing I'll say related to the injury, and this is nothing against Jordan Love, but ironically, I feel as if that the Packers offense seemed to be more productive and more on schedule within this game with Malik Willis in, simply because it made them run the ball more, which has been a big issue, I feel like, with the Packers, where they just don't give the ball to Jacobs enough. They don't give the ball to their backs. And it, sometimes it has helped them, but I feel like a lot of times it's almost made them worse. And so weirdly enough, I think that kind of might have even benefited them. You never know when it comes to like down the stretch, and obviously there's the fumble at the end of the game, but I think I'm with you. I don't think that injury made the biggest difference. And I think that it just showed that the Bears, they just have they have it, right? Like certain teams with certain coaches just win.
Yes,
And
it's
that's
a
what
different
we're getting.
it
We're
than
getting
the
from the Bears.
Patriots run right now, but it over the last 3 weeks has turned into a much more legitimate it factor than I had believed prior. And I do have to say, because I've been harping on this for forever, and it's not because I'm a Caleb Williams hater, the statistic was a little bit inflated. Caleb Williams had an actual legitimate game-winning drive. In fact, a game-tying and game-winning drive.
Yes. I think that for me, when I was watching Caleb Williams in this game, this was the best I'd seen him play in terms of his decision making of when to run, when to pass, when to throw the ball away. Because I don't know, I just felt like Caleb Williams looked really in control and really poised, and he was willing to take the negative play because it was the least negative of the possible outcomes.
I won't
Which
overexpand.
that's what we want from Caleb Williams.
No, it is.
Just like,
it is.
Don't make the worst choice, because that's what he was doing oftentimes last year.
I won't overexpound on this point because, it's not a whole lot, but it is something that we will also be bringing up in a later on video that will be coming out this week in terms of the biggest weaknesses, which if you would like to tune in for that video and you're watching this, make sure to like and subscribe, stick around.
Exactly.
The Bears, and this is almost more of it's more of a criticism of Ben Johnson than Caleb Williams. A lot of the problems with the Bears offense is an over-reliance on the explosiveness of the run game, where like Monangai and Swift have been an incredible duo, but sometimes it feels like they aren't able to establish a drive if they don't get a 25-yard rushing play
100%.
from one of those two, which is a little bit problematic because at a certain point, can Ben Johnson be good enough to scheme up some of those plays? Sure, but you can't overly rely on explosiveness in the run game. And so the biggest takeaway for the Bears this game is just the pure fact that they were able to come down from a deficit and win a game against a team that will still at this point, even though it's getting a little tight, most likely be a playoff team and is a playoff talent team. And so it proved that in games against teams that they will be playing in the playoffs, because they officially clinched a playoff spot and are pretty much almost dead set to be probably the number 2 seed in the NFC. The mathematical likelihood is overwhelmingly that they're locked into the 2 seed. They can beat a team if they're trailing in the fourth quarter. They have that ability. They've been a comeback team, and this was a major comeback against a playoff level opponent. I'm starting more and more to potentially like the Bears' chances going up against whoever the 6 seed will likely be. Or excuse me, the 7 seed.
Yeah, no, 100%. To give credence or a little bit of statistics to what you said, the Bears this game had a negative 7.6 pass rate over expected, and yet they were only in the 42nd percentile in EPA per rush. So you kind of did see that a lot of their offensive woes came from the fact that they were continuously trying to establish the run, and yet the Packers did a decent job against it. But it really is just like they kept it close. Not relatively. They got the onside kick. They scored points when it mattered. And just like the Seahawks game, at the end of the day, when the game is all said and done and the clock hits 0, sometimes that's the most important thing. It's just timely stops, high leverage plays going your way. And the more important aspect of this is that this is a team that is keeping it within a within arm's reach. Right. And like, that's what I'll say about the Seahawks too, because there's one aspect where it's like, oh, the Bears just got lucky and they beat the better team. And so you could say the same thing about the Seahawks. But when you're, in the NFL, if you are able to keep games close,
good things happen.
that's it. Like
Yeah.
you can win. You can go on a playoff run. Like, you can win games if you're good enough to do that. If you have the scheme, everything like that, crazy things could happen.
There are two different situations and two different styles of plays, but I legitimately got the closest comparison that I could have in terms of like across a different season and a different team to the feeling that I got when the Bears recovered that onside kick was the Commanders' Hail Mary against the Bears, where it felt like a team that's on a run, and it was kind of a stamp in the ground, like, it may not even be the talent of this roster, but by golly, like, the football gods are smiling upon this team right now and in this season. And I'm starting to lean more and more that it's not unlikely that the Bears could go on a run in the NFC.
100%. Here's the thing, and here's the other thing I'll say to that. The Bears, I think, just objectively, without question, have the better coaching staff and roster than the Commanders did last year. The only thing is, obviously, Jaden Daniels was just doing so much carrying, and that's why his rookie season was so impressive. But, like, the difference is I don't predict a big drop-off from this year to last year like I did with the Commanders. And it's because, if anything, like, I feel like they could get better. And I have some hot takes related to the Bears next season that I'm going to save for that video that Jonathan talked about. So, again, like and subscribe if you want to see that. But... No,
I'm liking and
all
subscribing
of the
right
feelings, heck yeah. All of the feelings that I had related to the Bears when we did that discussion about, the top fallers and risers, you should watch that video just to see how smart we are, because what we predicted was pretty insanely accurate. But all of those things, like, all of it was confirmed. Like, all of the question marks that I had have been answered this season, and in a way that makes me feel like they have a crazy ceiling. But we can move on to the next game.
I'm gonna make an executive decision, and we can blitzkrieg through some of these. The Bills escaped by the skin of their teeth from the Browns. People are somewhat overreacting about this game. It's the Bills right now. They are what they are.
If it wasn't for the fact that the Ravens were favored against the Patriots, that was 100% my upset alert. The Cleveland Browns have a top 5 defense. Like, their chances are they're not going to get blown out by a lot of teams, even if they're going to lose at every single one of those games.
The Chargers did end up beating the Cowboys by 17. That game was close heading into the fourth quarter, so even though it didn't come true, the Chargers did almost charger it up until the fourth quarter, so I didn't feel terrible about it. They weren't my upset alert, but I did have a sneaky Cowboys pick in that game. But I think this was still ultimately, to give the Chargers their flowers, proof that despite the ups and downs of the seasons, and technically Adam being more right with his Broncos being better than the Chargers pick, the Chargers have clearly hit a different stride where they aren't fully going to charger it up, at least in the regular season. Because some people have been... Some people use... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So we're recording on Monday night, and I just checked in on the 49ers Colts game. Right now, Phillip Rivers is 10 for 15 with 2 touchdowns.
I have the game on replay. I will be watching it immediately.
Yeah, me too. I'm totally going to be watching it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That's a worthy chime in. The Chargers are officially out of a full-on chargering it up stage, because some people say chargering it up as an insult, and they think that purely just means playoff choking. No, charging it up means not only a playoff choke, but also like a crawling to the finish line end of the regular season. Even despite the offensive line injuries, the Chargers are clearly out of that stage where they're going to put up a fight in whatever playoff game they have. I'll say that right now.
Yeah, 100%.
They just objectively will. And it looks like it's going to be Chargers-Steelers, 4-5 matchup, Steelers hosting. That's the overwhelmingly likely playoff scenario. Two teams, I mean, an unstoppable force and an immovable object of losing wild card games. Something is going to have to give in this game.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
But we can move to the Bengals absolutely shellacking the Dolphins, a Dolphins team that has, flex the shirt, a Dolphins team that is reportedly not anywhere close to firing Mike McDaniels.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. The one thing I'll say about this game, people were talking about how, Joe Burrow shouldn't play, like we should, just let him heal up, rest, yada, yada, yada. If you've watched any of the news cycle related to Joe Burrow recently, this guy just needs a win. Like he just needs some joy in his life. And so whole idea
I've seen
is
that
just
same
stupid.
conversation. I was like, so this guy that clearly loves playing football is upset generally about a team that has been poor at playing football. And your solution to that, to keep him in Cincinnati, is to not let him play football? Like, what would that be?
No, it makes no sense. Speaking of other stupid narratives, I saw this a few days ago, related to Patrick Mahomes. We can talk about that, I guess. But Patrick Mahomes, they were talking about how he had the surgery like the next day for his ACL, and people were making points like, what a dog. Like, ooh. Like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes just wants it more. And I'm like, dude, no, it's because I'm pretty sure it was his LCL that was, included in that injury. And the medical science behind it is when your LCL is partially or fully ruptured with an ACL injury, you get the surgery sooner, rather like as soon as possible, just because the way you repair it. It has to do with like how it heals and scar tissue. I'm not an expert on this. Where the ACL, you can wait a few days, if not a few weeks, to kind of let it heal before you do the surgery, let the swelling go down. So I'm sorry, I just saw that and I was just like, dude, you are such
another notch in the GOAT column.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people who had that conversation are just dumb. And I'm sorry if that was you, if you're watching this and I'm calling you stupid, like, learn to critically think. Like, anyway.
Thank you, Nurse Adam. We do appreciate that. Yeah. Healthcare workers are heroes, Titans, as we all know.
Titans are ruining their tankathon,
the Titans
but still
beat the Chiefs
man,
by 3 possessions, really proving my point of how much Patrick Mahomes carries this roster. I mean, arguably the worst team in the league beat the Kansas City Chiefs by 3 possessions purely because they didn't have Patrick Mahomes playing football.
Yeah. Yeah, which of course it's not like that fair of a case study, because if you were doing like a statistical case study analysis, you would throw in a competent quarterback of average play, but that would probably have led to a 2 possession loss. So it still proves the point overwhelmingly that Patrick Mahomes was carrying this team.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to spend too much time on this game. It was ugly. It was brutal. And there were a lot of other guys for the Chiefs that weren't playing. But that's been the case for the whole season. Injuries, and then finally to knock it all off, Patrick Mahomes goes down, and this team looks like one of the worst teams in football. That's all there is to say.
Yeah. I just
we already
realized
talked
J.J.
about
McCarthy
this game.
beat the Giants. The Giants got 9'd and he only had 108 passing yards.
Yep. I mean, that has been J.J. McCarthy's season so far.
What's funny is Justin Jefferson had 85 receiving yards.
I think that they finally decided, like, I guess we do have to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. And so J.J. McCarthy was like, I guess I'm only throwing it to him.
Yes.
The Giants continue the tankathon.
Did you see about that?
Did you see
what? Kevin O'Connell had like Project JJ or whatever, and like it's like, or Project Jefferson. It's like, get Justin Jefferson to 1,000 yards receiving so he can continue the streak. That's where we're at with the Vikings.
I mean, it's not a ridiculous goal. I mean, if any wide receiver in the league deserves it, it is Justin Jefferson. But yeah, this is the narrative that continue with both of these teams. The the Giants are bad in a way where they should be tanking, and the Vikings are bad in a way where they should be trying to instill as much confidence in their young quarterback as possible. And if throwing 14 passes and completing 9 of them, and winning the football game is instilling confidence, then by golly, go right ahead. Not a whole lot of confidence being instilled in me by 9, but that point has been beleaguered on this podcast before.
Yeah.
We already talked about this, but the Saints decimate the Jets, a Jets team that is now 2 games away from a literally unbreakable record. Adam, do you know what this record is?
No, I don't.
The Jets are 2 games away from going an entire 17-game season and having no interceptions.
Yeah, I actually, as soon as I did research about that and I noticed that, and I was like, that is sneakily like the most catfish stat ever. Like that is not a positive.
No, I don't know exactly how that's possible. I'm sure that there will be some analytical video at the end of the season if they do this. Immediately, some football nerds will break this down and do some math as to how impossible this is. So I look forward to coming across that video in my algorithm at some point. Maybe we'll be the ones to do it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Hey, just to clarify, so I don't feel stupid, that's saying that they haven't thrown any interceptions, right?
No, that they haven't like gotten any interceptions on defense.
They haven't got.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember what I saw. That's crazy. Oh my gosh! Because as soon as you said that, I was like, "Wait a minute." Oh my gosh! Because
no, the defense has not picked off a single ball. That's what I thought you were saying at first, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But I feel like I remembered Justin Fields doing that. But whatever, that's crazy because they don't pass the ball a lot. But no, that's insane. How did they pull Aaron Glenn, dude? Tough for him. I do
that's
feel
a tough
bad.
Look. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a little brain fart moment.
No. The Panthers put themselves in a prime position to end the Buccaneers' 4 straight NFC South division titles.
Pretty crazy.
Could we have envisioned that going into this season? No. I mean, if you were going to pick an alternative to the Bucs, it would have been the Falcons, but Bryce Young comes in and says, "Hold my 192 passing yards."
No, it was pretty crazy. But he did just enough, right? Like he did just enough in order to win. He was good in the clutch.
Tet McMillan had a great game.
Yeah, he had that. I believe it was to Tet McMillan at the end of the half to score that touchdown with 7 seconds left. Yeah, it was. That was a really impressive throw and play. Outside of the numbers, Bryce Young really excelled. 10 for 16, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against zone, he was 17 for 21 and 118 yards. And so overall, like he didn't play the most inspiring game, but it was just enough in order to get the win. And it really just boils down to the Panthers as a team. If we can get just like basic to good level of play from Bryce Young, like they've shown that they have the roster and the pieces and the scheme to keep it close against good teams.
And even taking it out of the macro view of the Panthers, just in the micro view of this game and these 2 teams going against each other, the Panthers just proved that they wanted it more than the Bucs. Like the Bucs are officially at the point where it is rough. I mean, not nearly as bad as the Falcons game last week in the way that you end it, but it's still always really bad when you're down by 3 inside of field goal position and you throw an interception. That's a really tough way to end it, where it's like, I'm not trying to be some like, pick the, hindsight's 2020, pick the side that works out. But I do feel like you should be a little bit more conservative when you just need 3 to send it to overtime and you're inside of the field goal range. Interesting decision making. Todd Bowles, disaster class once again. It's it's going to be really surprising to me if they don't fire him. The only reason preventing that is because they signed him to a pretty massive contract extension relatively recently. So I don't know how much money the Buccaneers owners are willing to burn to get him off of the payroll. But we will see. The Panthers,
So
it's a combination of good for the Panthers and also yikes for the Bucs.
yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the playoff implications. So one of the big things here is like obviously, the Panthers have a 1-game lead now. Looking at their schedule, they play the Seahawks and then they end the season against the Bucs. Now, fortunately for the Bucs, they're playing the Dolphins right before that game. And so theoretically, if, everything goes according to how it should, they will be, Bucks win, Panthers lose. They're going to both be 8-8 going into the last game of the season. And so, but in a hypothetical world where the Panthers beat the Seahawks and the Bucks win out, they would be both tied.
And it would go to division record.
But no, in that world, they would both have the same division record, I believe.
They'd
if
both
what I'm
be
looking
3
at
and
is
3?
correct. Yes. They would also both have the same conference record because if the Panthers, or no, never mind. The Panthers would win in that situation because they would have the conference record because they beat the Seahawks.
Yes. And I was going to say, wouldn't the division record be different? I don't have it in front of me. I could be wrong.
So right now the Panthers are 3-2 and the Buccaneers are 2-3. The difference is that the Panthers lost to the Saints twice. They got shucked.
That's true. Yeah. You are correct.
So anyway, the point of all of that is to say is that as long as the Bucs take care of business and the Seahawks, just play like the number 1 seed because they do have something to fight for.
It will come down to week
right?
18 for this division, more likely than not.
Yes, more likely than not. Yep. But yeah, no, overall, I do think it was a situation. And again, we're going to talk about this in the upcoming video. So like and subscribe, was related to the Bucs, but I just feel like they're getting out coached all these games. Like it's a combination of like a few plays going against them. And then specifically on defense, not good, but we can move on to another electric game.
The Jaguars end up kind of just pure and simply taking care of business against the Broncos, a 34-20 road victory at Mile High. In a weird game where Bo Nix kind of played all right, completion, but part of that was also the stat. I'm gonna try to be unbiased. A lot of the Bucs scores a little bit stat patty in terms of yards accumulated because they were playing behind the sticks for the second half. And you can kind of tell that through his pass attempts of 47 while only completing 28 of them. At a certain point by the end of the game, they were just, by the nature of the sport of football in the modern era, throwing the ball down the field, doing whatever they could. Trevor Lawrence played a heck of a game. The defense.
They played
this Jaguars defense is winning me over more and more. And that's actually the thing ultimately that I think will matter the most in the playoffs, because we're at the point where I know that the Jaguars will be able to put up points. Maybe not 34 on the top defense. Like that may be a little bit of an aberration and they really got up to play. But I'm at the point where if the Jaguars can score 28 points in a game, I think they're good against a whole bunch of these teams that they might be facing.
They are. 100%. What I'll say about the Jaguars, this was a weird situation where on offense, they were dominated in the trenches. Trevor Lawrence faced pressure on 50% of his dropbacks. He was sacked 5 times, and they didn't get the run game going particularly efficiently just because that defensive line totally won that matchup in basically every phase of the game. And yet, what we saw was the one thing that can score points on the Broncos. A mobile enough quarterback that can throw on the run, and B, quick time to throw. Basically, all of Trevor Lawrence's production came under 2.5 seconds time to throw. And really what it boiled down to is that they were efficient in the red zone against the best red zone defense in the NFL. They were 4 for 5. And then, Parker Washington had himself one heck of a game. 6 catches. His yak ability was insane.
I
10
know.
catches for 145 yards and a touchdown. This was just an absolutely incredible offensive showing. And one thing that was interesting about it is that as the run game got worse, they basically went away from it, which is not necessarily something Liam Cohen and a lot of offensive head coaches that run a similar scheme do. And yet their pass rate over expected was plus 7.8%. And so what I saw from this game was this was a typical Browns game offensively. 20 points is about how much a Broncos score in a game against a decent defense. The difference is that all of the red zone trips basically turned into touchdowns and not field goals, which normally happens against the Broncos. And more importantly, even though they dominated in the trenches, they just had enough possessions because the offense just stalled too many times in order to put up 34 points. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even feel like the Broncos defense did terrible. Like they won in the way that they should have most of the time, but it was the amount of possessions. It was the quick game from Trevor Lawrence. It was the yards after the catch. It was bad angles, missed tackles, those little things that when I was watching this game, I was like, the Broncos defense should have won this matchup and I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about offense versus defense, like that game within a game. It felt like the Broncos were winning the majority of the time, right? 50% pressure. You would obviously say that the defense won that matchup. And yet, because of the offensive woes, because of the consistent stalled drives, because of, Trevor Lawrence's mobility and the yards after catch and the efficiency in the red zone, they scored 34 points. And the Jaguars 100% showed that they are a team that can compete with anybody.
And a sneaky thing when you look at the stats is that, yeah, the 50% pressure rate is impressive. But if you dive a little deeper on the 5 sacks, something that's interesting is that, and this has to be close to an NFL record, it was 5 sacks for only 14 negative yards. So those sacks were coming when like Trevor Lawrence was shallow in the pocket or like actively moving up in the pocket.
Yes.
To where the vast majority of those sacks were not drive stalling plays. Like they were negative plays, but it'd be like the difference between, I mean, most times if you see 5 sacks on a stat line, you're talking about 5 sacks for negative 30, negative 35 yards. 5 sacks for negative 13, it means on average, when you're getting sacked, it's for less than 3 yards. It's like, it's a negative play, but you're talking about a 2nd and 13 or a 3rd and 8 versus a 2nd and 17 or a 3rd and 12.
Yeah, no, that's a huge piece. And that obviously points to Trevor Lawrence's mobility. The other thing I'll say that's really interesting about this game and the Jaguars offense is I don't want to throw any shade on Vance Joseph, but his scheme is not particularly inspiring and it's clearly player driven. Like his scheme is not adding to the players. It's just letting the players do what they do best. And if there's one weakness in this Broncos defense, it would be the secondary. When kept clean, Trevor Lawrence was 10 for 14, 155 yards, and all 3 touchdowns came when unpressured. So like what you saw was a clear black and white difference between when he was under pressure and when he wasn't under pressure. When he was under pressure, he didn't do terrible. He didn't make the worst decision. He didn't throw the pick. He didn't take a lot of yards when he was sacked. But when he was clean, he was incredible. He was efficient. He scored touchdowns. The yards after a catch, the ability was there. And what it shows is Liam Cohen's scheme was simply better than Vance Joseph's. B, what it shows is Liam Cohen's influence on Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback has clearly shown. He clearly has his confidence back. And
the big thing is the
things,
confidence. I can't, it's almost like if you are new to football this season and you watch the progression and you just be like, oh, Trevor Lawrence has really improved this season. Watching him last season to now, it's like, it almost looks like a different quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
we were early,
Even
not
this
even
season.
midway, but yes, but I'm saying in the like this is a multi-year extended like,
Yes.
oh, this guy might just be like a full-on bust. But clearly it was there, and his confidence was just utterly decimated.
Right. Which makes sense. Again, everything I've said about Caleb Williams in his first year in his career, all of that applies to Trevor Lawrence, and it took a guy like Liam Cohen or Ben Johnson for them to get their get back. But there's two things that I have to say about that. The first one is, again, the addition of Jacoby Myers. While he didn't have an incredible game or like a standout game, he played well against the Broncos. Having that reliable pass catcher short in the middle of the field for Trevor Lawrence to give the ball to has clearly changed everything for him. The other thing I'll say is that the Broncos have, to my point, they're in their secondary. They have a great secondary, and yet the playmakers that the Jaguars had were able to win those matchups. Parker Washington, their wide receiver 3, and maybe wide receiver 4 next year. Incredible. Brian Thomas Jr., he didn't make as big of an impact this game, but just his deep threat ability, like I'm sure Pat Surtain was on him basically the whole game. And then Jacoby Myers in the middle. And next year they're going to have Travis Hunter. Like, this team has a bright future, and they have incredible weapons out to be able to catch the ball. That's not even talking about my guy, Brenton Strange. But the other thing I'll say about this, which is really frustrating, is that I predicted this to a T just a year late, right? Like, I believed in Liam Cohen and his ability to give Trevor Lawrence his confidence so much. And I was like, even though this year might be the year, what I predicted was a year where Trevor Lawrence disappoints. People are going to say, oh, is he the guy? And then next year is going to be the year where Liam Cohen finally works his magic and Trevor Lawrence has an incredible season. The thing that's exciting about this, and I feel the same way about the Bears, outside of Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, and I guess like maybe like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, related, like these two have the potential to be the most skilled quarterbacks with the best offensive coach, if that makes sense. Like, I felt like in years past, there haven't been there's always like a discrepancy, if that makes sense. Like Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, for example. Let me just put that out there, where it's like, or even Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, which is the other end of the spectrum from last year, where it's like, clearly this scheme is incredible, but the limiting factor here is what Jared Goff can do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, Baker Mayfield, I don't want to throw him under the bus because I love him so much, but I do think that in that offense, he kind of was the
100%.
limiting factor there in terms of just like his decision making and what he can do with the ball or not running the ball in his mobility. Obviously, he's a dog. But my point is that Trevor Lawrence is an incredibly gifted athlete. His mobility, his ability to throw in the run and just zip it into tight windows.
Off his
like,
back foot. Yeah.
That's right. Those skill sets coupled with a Liam Cohen scheme, if those two things are firing at all cylinders, decent pass catchers, a floor that Liam Cohen provides with his run game, like, and again, I'm not predicting this for this year, because I'm still holding out, but like, I am buying so much Jaguar stock, which I already did in the preseason. I want to say I was early to this, even though it didn't feel like it, just because
I was going to say, some of the Jaguars players might be coming after you for hopping on the bandwagon. They had some quotes after the game. The bandwagon's
I promise
closed.
you I'm not. I was here first.
You were.
I was here first because I believe in my
you were
lover in the
you were
nighttime,
there
Liam
somehow
Cohen.
simultaneously a little too early and a little too late. You somehow did it.
Yeah. I don't know how I pulled it off. But yeah, Jaguars are incredible. Broncos are who the Broncos are. The difference is they got 34 points scored on them.
And that's a big difference when you're the Denver Broncos and you have Bo Nix playing as quarterback. The Falcons beat the Cardinals. I have absolutely no interest to talk about this game, so we won't.
I don't either.
The Steelers win a thriller against the Lions, nearly blowing a 15-point lead in the first quarter for the first time in the coaching career of Mike Tomlin. But they pull it out in the end. The Steelers, by winning this game and then later that night, the Ravens losing, basically all but secure the AFC North. It's not mathematical yet, but just it would be shocking if they didn't. The Steelers will find a way to steal her, but still. The Lions now in a really tough position, but technically
They
by
might
the
be
fact
cooked, dude.
they might be cooked. The only thing keeping them alive was the fact that the Bears did beat the Packers. So the Packers, like the 7 seed is now only between the Packers and the Lions, and the Packers have, I mean, it's basically right there. They just have to win one more game.
Yeah. And in a hypothetical situation, I don't know when this is, but if the Browns beat the Steelers somehow, and which we didn't mention it, I believe Myles Garrett might have gotten half a sack. I think he's at 22 right now, so 1 sack away from the record, which he kind of has to get this upcoming week in week 17 in order to do it in the same amount of games as Strahan and TJ Watt. But my point is that matchup, Packers Ravens, could be really, really important. I wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens win. I haven't decided exactly where I'm going to go. I think I'm leaning Packers. But no, the Lions are in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
Really tough spot.
I am legitimately impressed that the Steelers won this game. It was a gritty
Me
win.
too.
It was a gritty
Me too.
Steelers win. Clearly, this team it's hard to analyze because at the same time, I do feel different slightly in terms of regular season about this Steelers team than I have about the past. At the
Me
same
too.
time, though, they're probably hosting the 4th seed game and probably overwhelmingly likely to let Justin Herbert get his first playoff win, in which case we'll be thinking about them a year from now
Yes.
as the exact same Steelers.
Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers played terribly at the beginning of the season and in the middle of the season. But just recently, his veteran savviness has shown. This, I think,
Despite the DK
particularly showed
Metcalf
itself.
acquisition not only being nothing, but
Right.
actively being a detriment to the team, getting suspended
Yeah.
for 2 games for punching a fan.
Well, from what I heard, it was kind of justified, based on what the fan said to him.
That the lawyer of that fan has disputed that, and no video evidence has
Really?
been provided, so it's inconclusive
well.
right now.
Well, either way, on third downs, Aaron Rodgers was 10 for 13, 105 yards. He repeatedly extended drives, right? And that was the story of the game. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers, with a good run game, right? The Steelers rushed for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense has come alive a little bit. I just kind of feel like this is a different team, and that compared to years past, I mean, obviously, compared to years past, this quarterback play in Aaron Rodgers is the highest ceiling in a playoff situation that any Steelers team in the past 10 years has had, basically since Big Ben. And so my point of all that to be being said is I wouldn't be shocked if they win in the playoffs. And then about the Lions, man, dude, it's just bad. I mean, the run game was non-existent. And that's what we've talked about it all year with the offensive line and the run game. 15 yards on 12 carries is pitiful.
I mean,
Jahmyr Gibbs had 2 yards on 7 carries.
is it just utter proof of the delusionalness of some radical Jared Goff supporters who will point at this box score and be like, well, he was 34-54 for, 360 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. So clearly he did his part. And it's like, no, they actually lost because they overly relied on him, because the running game is by far the more important part of this team.
Right. Right. And again, I keep saying this, I'm really not a braggadocious type of person. But it's just so exciting.
We've said this
start
for
a podcast.
So long. Yeah.
But when you start a podcast and you have a take that starts in the off season and just continues to be proven true over and over again, I said repeatedly, it's not the departure of Ben Johnson that's going to be the detriment to this Lions team. It's going to be the struggles within the offensive line. And that's what this points to. Like, did Jahmyr Gibbs just mess around and become bad at running the ball against the Steelers? No. Obviously, it was because their offensive line got beat by a really good Steelers defensive line. And as soon as the other team has that advantage, they lose. It is as simple as that. The offense stalls. They go for it on fourth down. It doesn't work. They were 3 for 15 on third down and 1 for 4 in the red zone. They also obviously failed the fourth down play at the end of the game, which I'm not really going to hold that particularly. It was a weird play. But like, my point of all of that being said, this is clearly an offense that is dependent upon the run game. We've said it before the season even started. You had them as your biggest faller in the NFL. Like, this is who the Lions are. And now they have a 6% chance of making the playoffs, according to Next Gen.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have to lose out and they have to win out. That's the only way.
And they have to win out.
Yeah. We can move on to another weird Texans win, but I don't know. I actually do kind of feel bad about this. I feel differently about this than I do with like the Bills, holding on to beat the Browns. This Raiders team is pitiful, and Geno Smith had more passing yards than CJ Stroud. I don't know. It's not great. I mean, they get the win. All's well. The Texans are in the playoffs. I don't necessarily think they've technically clinched yet, but for all intents and purposes, they are in the playoffs. I don't. The offensive line has improved technically, but so we can officially be like, all right, is it going to literally prevent them from making the playoffs? No, clearly they're not at that point. But might it be the worst offensive line of any playoff team in the NFL? Yes.
Them and the Chargers. Those are, but I would.
And the
lean
Chargers
towards...
is entirely because of decimated by injuries. This is what the Texans basically came into the season with.
Yeah, they sure did.
I really don't have much to talk about on this game. It's kind of just going to come down to matchup for the Texans in the playoffs. And good for the Raiders locker room to still lose and play a team kind of close. Drake May.
Yeah, Drake May. He did it again.
This was probably, we say he did it again. This was probably the most that he's ever been down relative to this, how little time was left in the game, and came back and won on the road. With some gorgeous deep balls on top of methodical drives. I mean, I was already mostly out on this Ravens team, but by no means was this like, I don't by any means think less about the Patriots for playing this Ravens team on the road in what I know was a loud environment. I had friends who were at this game in Baltimore. The Patriots, you just grow more and more confidence in a young team, getting their legs underneath them, winning tough, gritty games. On the Ravens side,
what you want.
how do you recover from a season like this? Let's get long term with the Ravens.
So I think, obviously, that they need to fire their defensive coordinator and their offensive coordinator. I'm trying to remember, what's the defensive coordinator's first name? It's something Orr. I always want to say Mike Orr, but I know that's not it. And I'm not going to let this. It's Zach Orr. That's it. So Zach Orr and I think Todd Monken both need to be fired. This was the other game that I highlighted, similar to the Packers-Bears game, where the starting quarterback went hurt and the offense looked better because they relied more on the run game. And I think that that's just a consistent theme with Todd Monken, where he's consistently not running the ball enough and giving it to Derrick Henry. And that's just an issue. I think that they obviously have to invest on the pass rush. I think their secondary is fine. Secondary is there's a lot of variability year to year between position in that position group, and so I'm sure they're going to play better. But I think long term, I think what's going to help is just Lamar Jackson playing better, and like really all of that to say that's the biggest thing. I think a healthy Lamar Jackson who gets his confidence back and remembers when to throw, when to scramble, and when to throw it away will fix a lot of problems.
It's been a funky season for Lamar, and part of that is injury. To get really macro on you, and this is a statistic I've brought up in both the Lamar conversation and the Josh Allen conversation. The statistic of head coach quarterback duos that have been together for 5 or more years and haven't, through those first 5 years, won a Super Bowl together is really bad. And when I say really bad, I mean it's literally never happened. Of all of the 2 quarterbacks in the league that could apply to, these would be the 2 that you could think that would do it. At the same time, like, I would lean more towards the Sean, McDermott side of that's the side that obviously is holding back. And Harbaugh's won one before. But at the same time, you've got a 2-time MVP quarterback that, while he's playing poorly this season, the majority of the time he's been a fantastic regular season quarterback throughout his career. I don't know. I think that those conversations are going to start popping up, and I'm not entirely sold.
Well, I'm going to hate them. I think it's stupid. Personally.
That's fair.
I think it's dumb.
I get that.
I think that, like I said, I place a lot of the blame on Todd Monken and Zachary Orr. Like the way that this defense has turned out, even though they have such skill, obviously a problem. And I know there was a time frame when they were battered up with injuries. We made that joke about how
the defense is 100% an issue. I'm entirely with you with Zach Orr.
And the offense as well. Like Todd Monken, from the first game, I think he should have been fired. The decision at that moment of in that moment of time when they were, there was very few time on the clock, they were up by maybe 2 points or something like that, and it was like a field goal to win. And what do they do but run the ball 3 times in a row was just so idiotic to me. And I understand that that's the prevailing wisdom, but dude, Lamar Jackson was balling that game. That was the best he's looked all season. And so that decision in my mind was just so stupid. And like, I feel like that has been consistent throughout this season. It's been consistent throughout, all of the, in recent history, all of the blown leads that the Ravens have had, like all of that boils down to those types of decision making. And that's on the play caller. And so John Harbaugh is an incredible coach. He's a leader of men, and he doesn't call the plays. So, and in terms of the playoffs, it 100% is a Lamar Jackson implosion. Like that's something that he has to work through.
Agreed.
And so that's not a coach thing. Your quarterback goes from good to bad. Like
I was just testing the waters, Adam. I mostly agree with you there. If to make a cross-sport analogy, and then we can close the book on this week of NFL football, is it a little bit like the Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, combination where the entire analysis going into the offseason first acquired was imagine the Damian Lillard Giannis pick and roll. Are we officially at that point with all of the hype around the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry RPO? And they don't really run it, and it doesn't really work. And I know it's entirely cross-sport, but that's kind of the vibe that I get, where you imagine in your head, like, the RPO of these two guys, and you're like, whoa, how can you even conceivably stop this? But it doesn't really work like that.
I think the biggest issue, so like the first thing I'll say to that is I think that's a great comp in terms of like feeling, right? Like I think that when you get into the nitty gritty, just like any comp or analogy, like the details is where it kind of falls through, right? Like I think, with Giannis and Damian Lillard, it was literally about like Giannis just didn't want to play that role.
Yes.
Like he just didn't want to, and then they were injured and things like that. This is what my point is with play calling, that like it's not like a situation where Lamar Jackson is like, I won't run the RPO. Like that's his system of quarterback play. Like that's what he does.
I think he may
right?
have a little bit of, I've made the point of like he switches back and forth between seasons where he's like, I'm going to be the passing quarterback. No, I'm going to be the electric mobile running quarterback. I think he may have a little bit of input into the play calling, but Monken is clearly poor at picking and choosing spots.
That's my point. Like,
yes.
Basically, if you, in my opinion, which might mean nothing, I'm just a guy in my basement with a Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow t-shirt. In my opinion, the Ravens have a clear strategy in how they should pull this off, which is establish the run heavy, run often, and then from there, you can establish the pass, similar to how Clint Kubiak runs the Seahawks, where even if it's not working, just run the ball over and over again, because it probably will work, and chances are Derrick Henry is going to break one free, and then use that to establish the pass, get this box stacked, right? You're already going to force someone in, because if Lamar Jackson scrambles just once, they're going to put a QB spy on him. Like, there is a clear system. Like, imagine what Clint Kubiak is doing, but instead of Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker, it's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
You make
like it is just a bad
point.
system
yes.
of offensive play calling. Like it's just bad. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't pick his spots well. And oftentimes they rely on this like gunslinger approach when it's like, I understand Lamar can do that, but maybe that's not opportune because the people he's throwing the ball to regularly fumble the game away at the end of the game. So anyway, we can move on.
You're correct. We can close the book on week 16 with the exception of a Monday Night Football game ongoing where at halftime Phillip Rivers has more passing yards than Brock Purdy.
Sure does.
The 49ers are winning currently, but I did have to say that. We move on to week 17, and around here, folks, first of all, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed if you're enjoying the podcast so far. Around here, we play a little game. And this is a game where Adam and I predict every single NFL game that occurs in the season. If you get the game right, you get 1 point. If you get the game wrong, you get no points. But the big twist every week is that each of us get on our own time, and we reveal them live to each other on the recording, an upset alert. An upset alert is when a team is a 2.5 point or more underdog, and you can pick them to do one of two things: to either cover the spread, in which case you get 3 points, or to outright win, in which case you get 3 points plus however much the spread was. But if you get your upset alerts incorrect, then you lose points more if you picked them to outright win than to just cover. With that being said, Adam, pending Monday Night Football, which we both picked the 49ers, so the point outcome will be the same regardless. This is the first week of this game's history where we tied in points. We both had 15. And funnily enough, even though we actually, unbeknownst to each other, lined up on our upset alert, it is not because we just matched each other's picks. In fact, we split on a whole lot of games. In fact, 6 of them, I want to say. And you got 3 of them right, and I got 3 of them right.
There we go.
So, you currently have 173 points, potentially 174, and I have 166, potentially 167.
All I got to do is tie you for the rest of the year.
You have a 7-point lead, which could disappear in a week, but at the same time is not nothing with only 2 weeks left in the regular season.
Hey, what can I say? I'm a ball knower.
I suppose so. We'll see if you are this week. The first game, Thursday Night Football, not Thursday Night Football, Christmas Day, Thursday Day Football, Cowboys at Commanders.
This is I'm not overthinking it. It's Dallas. I'm going Dallas.
Yeah, this is one of those things where typically, given situationally, there's an argument for Commanders. The problem is that Jerry Jones is stupid and won't tank.
Yes.
Like, he's going to have a sense of pride about playing on Christmas. They're going to try and win this game. The Commanders might for the first half, but not really. Give me the Cowboys.
I'm with you.
Continuing this relatively awful slate of Christmas games, I will be watching the NBA. I want it to be known. I don't care if this is an NFL podcast.
Good call. Probably a good move.
Lions at Vikings.
I have the Lions. I think that they're fighting for they have to, hold up their end of the bargain in order to make the playoffs. So I have the Lions beating 9. There's no way they lose to 9 twice in a year.
One would think, or else, they need to be punished if they do. Give me the Lions.
True.
Broncos at Chiefs.
I have the Broncos in a close one. I think it'll still be close.
I don't think it will be even close. I think the Broncos have pent up hatred because they are childish about how much we've dominated them. And now that big bad brother Patrick Mahomes is out of the equation, they're going to try and beat us by 30. I do legitimately think that. I'm taking the Broncos. Texans at Chargers.
Dude, the defensive linemen in this game are feasting. They're licking their chops right now.
Yeah. Where are you going?
My gosh. Well, see, I don't know. Who's worse?
Well, the Texans pass rush is probably better than the Chargers pass rush if you want to go by that metric.
True. Yeah, I was definitely leaning Texans just because I think that obviously defensively they have the advantage. I guess I'll go Texans. I just don't. No, I'm going Chargers. I have a weird feeling. I'm just going with my gut.
Okay, because I was waiting for you to solidify your pick before I gave mine to make sure there was no funny business from you. My upset alert is the Texans winning outright as 2.5-point underdogs.
Oh, I didn't even realize they were underdogs. Oh, they sure are. Oh, there you go.
2.5-point
Good
underdog Texans win outright. That is my upset alert. Do I feel great about it? No, but in the horrible offensive line, yet still playoff team bowl, it's a long name, but we will be licensing it. I do think that the Texans have the objectively better pass rush, and it outweighs the fact that they probably have a slightly worse offensive line. And so, give me the Texans.
Yeah, good call.
Ravens at Packers.
See, the problem with predicting this game is we don't know if either starting quarterbacks are going to play on Monday.
I
Could
agree
we have
with
Snoop
that.
Huntley versus Malik Willis?
Snoop Huntley versus Malik Willis. I take Malik Willis, and Jordan Love versus Lamar Jackson at this point. I think I take Jordan Love. It really doesn't affect my decision.
Yeah, I'm going Packers too.
I am going Packers as well. I think that the Ravens are defeated and deflated, and the Packers, despite some struggles, just objectively have a lot to play for. By winning this game, they clinch a playoff spot.
I'm with you.
Well, technically not, I think, because the Buccaneers, well, no, it wouldn't work like that. The Panthers might actually be alive with them to be the 7 seed. I think, but I could like there is actually technically a world I think where the Panthers could. Well, no, I don't think it would work.
No,
that
I don't
way.
think so.
No,
because the Panthers are 8-7, the Packers are 9-5-1.
No, you're right. Yeah,
So,
I think I'm almost positive that by the Packers winning this game, they clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, are the Ravens technically alive? Yes, but much more deflated. Give me the Packers. We can move to Cardinals at Bengals.
Dude, I'm taking my team, man.
Yeah,
this is our run. This is our end of season run for nothing.
Gets his end of the season run for nothing, but it makes him feel a little bit better about playing football for Cincinnati. Steelers at Browns.
I want to pick the Browns so bad. This just feels like a Mike McTomlin.
That's incredible.
Mike Tomlin loss. Like, the more because I picked the Lions to beat the Steelers last week, and right before the game started, I was like, no, this is a game the Steelers win. Like, this is the unexpected win they get, and then they lose to the Browns. Right? The Ravens win, and then all of a sudden, the division is on the line, and the Steelers beat the Ravens in the last week of the season. They get into the playoffs with a 10-7 record. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. But they're the Browns, man. And so I can't do it. I'm picking the Steelers. But I think Myles Garrett will get a sack. I think this is the week. Mason Rudolph? It could happen.
Make it happen, Mason. Yeah, Steelers, I have them in this game. It probably will be close, but the Steelers effectively clinch the AFC North by winning this game. Give me the Steelers. Saints at Titans.
Dude,
I'm going to be having some fun conversations.
Tyler Shuck is again proving that he's the best quarterback in this class.
I mean, is it going to be, it's not nothing. The Titans will be coming off of beating the Kansas City Chiefs and then be beaten by Tyler Shuck.
True.
That's all I'm going to say.
Without any context, you could say that the Saints
are better than the Chiefs. Give me the Saints. Jaguars at Colts, assuming that Phillip Rivers survives the rest of this Monday Night Football game. It will be Trevor Lawrence versus Phillip Rivers.
Crazy. Old time matchup. Classic NFC South battle between Phillip Rivers and Trevor Lawrence. I have the Jaguars.
I have the Jaguars as well. There's not much analysis to give here. I'm sorry, Colts fans. I've gone hard on you these last couple of weeks because of how much you messed up this season.
It really went bad quick. If you want to know more about that, like and subscribe and watch our video talking about the worst quarterback situations in the NFL, because the Colts did make an appearance.
Great plug, Adam. Top tier.
Thank you.
Buccaneers at Dolphins.
Buccaneers at Dolphins. I'm taking the Bucs to keep their season alive.
I am as well, but I flirted with just an all-out utter collapse by the Buccaneers.
It could happen. I feel like
flirted.
A lot of Tampa Bay fans would low-key be excited, because that would be all that the Bucs need to fire Mr. Todd Bowles. I never say his name right. Todd Bowles. Ted Bowles. Who the hell is that?
From my poll of one Buccaneers friend that I have, I know that is objectively the case.
Let's go. All right,
but
next
I
game
will take the Buccaneers.
Patriots at Jets. Buffalo
Patriots.
is hoping for Jets upset, but no, I'm taking the Patriots.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. I didn't even need to think about this. Now, would it be funny if the Jets get their first interception of the season against Drake May?
It would be funny, dude.
Does that automatically end his MVP narrative?
I think so.
But yes, give me the Patriots. Seahawks at Panthers. Oh my goodness. 2 division leaders matching up against each other.
Dude, I'm going to pick the Seahawks. I feel like the Panthers are going to win this game. I just have a gut feeling.
I have a really bad feeling about it as well, but I am taking the Seahawks.
And, maybe it's because the Panthers beat the Rams and it's just that. But the Panthers this season have a habit of knocking off number 1 seeds, because I think they did that against the Packers too.
They did.
This is now the 3rd time that the Panthers are playing the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, maybe this is your new stat. 2 sample sizes.
Yeah, this is my new stat.
Yeah,
that's all the
anytime the Panthers play the number 1 seed in the NFC, they win.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm taking the Seahawks.
I'm taking the Seahawks
which is funny, because
though.
if they hypothetically, let's say that's true and they continue this streak, they make it to the playoffs and somehow wins the first round.
Of what do you do?
NFC Super Bowl Panthers? Anyway, we can move on.
The number 1 seed bowl. The number one overall
Yeah.
pick bowl, I mean.
That's really what it is.
Giants at Raiders.
Yeah. I don't know what to do.
I'm
think I'm
picking the
picking
Giants.
The Giants. Yeah.
The
I feel like the
Raiders
Raiders
have an
just are
objectively
bad.
worst roster,
Dude,
and
I mean, the biggest indictment is them kicking a field goal to lose the game. A game-losing field goal against the Broncos.
I don't even know how. Yeah, I mean, my
That
goodness,
was
it's
so funny, dude.
pathetic. It's.
To cut the lead to 45.
I think that I don't even know how you start this offseason if you're Pete Carroll. What do you do?
I just hope nope, I'm not gonna make that joke.
Okay. I think I know what joke you were going to make, but
You want to make it?
No, I'm all set. Eagles at Bills.
This is kind of like again, this is one of those things where it's like my head is telling me Bills, but my heart is telling me Eagles. Like I just feel like this is the type of game that
See,
in the
for me,
regular
it's
season, the
actually
Eagles
weirdly
win.
enough the exact opposite, where my head is telling me Eagles and my heart is telling me Bills, where it's like my head is telling me that this is like a game that the Eagles just win. And they're like, the Eagles are back, and the narrative's going to be like, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, they're an all-time quarterback coaching duo. But my gut is telling me that the Bills win this game. I'm taking the Bills.
What's funny is I'm taking the Bills because that
You're
just
following
perfectly
your head.
encapsulates the difference between me and you in
does.
terms of football analysis. You go with your gut. I generally go with my head.
And we kind of it's the same outcome, but for entirely different reasons.
Exactly.
Bears at 49ers. I struggled with this one mightily. This is, I think I just have to, I don't feel good about it, but the Bears have officially won enough respect from me to earn my pick in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm picking the Bears too, and they are my upset alert.
Wow. Wait, they're underdogs?
No, I know, that's what I said. Isn't that crazy? 2.5 points.
2.5 points, really? I must have misread that. I thought the 49ers or the Bears were 2.5 point favorites in this game, but I'll take your word for it.
Let me just double check just to make sure. No, yeah, San Francisco -3 actually, according to DraftKings.
Okay.
But according to FanDuel, I believe. I just need to look at the game. Keep going.
Well, right now, unless
I don't even see it.
Fact checked otherwise, we are going to say
definitely
Bears outright 3-point underdogs versus the 49ers. Give me a little analysis on this game, Adam.
Yeah, for me, part of it is just due to my lack of faith in the 49ers. Again, we're going to be talking about this in the next video that comes out, but the 49ers just don't like their whole all their defensive playmakers are injured basically. And so for me, it's just like, I think the Bears are going to be able to run the ball. I think that I do think that the 49ers will be able to put up points, but I just don't see unless the 49 or the Caleb Williams just has an all out collapse, right? And reverts back to last year, Caleb Williams, because, obviously Saleh has done a really good job generally generating pressure, but that was against bad offensive lines.
Yeah.
The Bears have a good offensive line. And so, I think that the Bears are going to be able to protect Caleb Williams. I really think that they're going to be able to run the ball against this team with that basically a backup linebacking core as well as defensive line. I think that the Bears just have clear advantages in the trenches is really what it boils down to.
100%
And so generally,
fair.
that's where I go. That's where I lean.
In fact, I'm making that pick. It just wasn't enough to be my upset alert. We can finish it off with the Monday Night Football game, Rams at Falcons. Give me the Rams.
Well, I'll take the Rams as well.
Well, with that, we've wrapped up our Week 17 predictions. We split on our upset alert as compared to last week, so there is some ground to be gained or lost depending on how you look at it. Adam, go ahead and give me the player who the folks at home should go watch highlights of.
Ooh, let's think. What did we talk? Tyler? No, we already did Tyler Shuck. Dang it!
We could do them again, back to back.
Go rewatch some Tyler Shuck highlights. Rewatch the man rolling left in college football. It's a spectacle.
It really is. Got so
Actually,
used
I
to it.
picked last week. You pick a team.
Okay, all right. I'll pick a player.
Or a
Go
player.
watch. Who do I go with? You know what?
Oh, I just thought of a player, actually.
Take it
I'm
away.
sorry. We were talking about the Bears and their new, of how good they've been. Watch some Dick Butkus highlights. First off, epic name. Secondly, dog. Just absolute dog. He was
Also, rest in
incredible.
peace. He did pass away less than a year ago.
Oh, that's true. Rest in peace, Dick Butkus. Your memory lives on. You are a dog.
He was a dog, and his memory does live on. That is a great player. Go watch some Dick Butkus highlights.
In memory of Dick Butkus. And with that, guys, like, subscribe, comment where you thought we were wrong, comment where we thought you were right. Nope, where you thought we were right. And we'll see you later.